Today is March 3rd, Wednesday, March 3rd, and this is class 10 of CAD 212. Today in class, we're going to be going over a midterm review. We'll discuss sheet numbers. In Revit, we'll continue discussing creating sheets, title sheets, inserting images, use of visibility graphics. In those, so we'll go ahead and get that wrapped up. This will be all the new stuff we'll be reviewing on Monday. We're not going to go over anything new. We use it as kind of just a work day. If you don't have everything finished on Monday, you do have until noon on Monday to get everything submitted. We can use that time period to ask any questions that you have or anything like that. If you do end up just getting your work done over the weekend and you get everything submitted by early Monday in class, that's just showing up for one more time for any questions that you have, and showing up for another midterm review just to make sure that you're comfortable with everything. And then we'll move forward to the exam on Wednesday, March 10th, which is a week from today. Any questions about that, y'all?
I have a question about for the midterm exam. Is it okay if I like call in on my phone instead of using computer audio? Would that be a problem at all?
We're going to discuss how the midterm exam works. The midterm will be live, so the exam will take place at 9 o'clock that day, which is kind of like part of what we're going to discuss in the midterm review. So on next Wednesday, exam will start at 9 and it will finish at 12. So you do have 3 hours to complete the entire thing, which is more than enough time that you really need. So you will need to do the exam live. If you turn it, I mean, it's just going to be available for that time period.
Okay.
I'm not going to be going over anything new or anything like that. The exam will become live on Canvas, and then you will create a Revit file, and then you will turn it in on Canvas, and that's it.
Okay. So are we going to have like a Zoom? Are we going to be like on the meeting?
No, we're not. No, we're not going to need. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. No, it's not going to be a Zoom meeting. I can start with a Zoom meeting at the beginning of class if you like, but what I've done in the past while we've been doing this is at 9 o'clock the exam will become live, and at 12 o'clock it shuts down. You can still turn it in. You know, you would have to text me and say, I can't turn the exam in if you do end up turning it in after 12, and we can fix that. But usually I don't usually have anybody, having any issues. So yeah, usually the exam will just be turned live at 9 and then shut down at 12. No Zoom invite or anything like that. You just work on your exam, and then turn it in when you're finished.
Okay, that works.
Okay, cool. Any other questions about that? We're going to go ahead and jump into some other stuff.
Miss Martin?
Yep.
I have a quick question. I sent you 2 messages. I have.
Yeah, you and I need to talk after class.
Okay, I'll call you. Okay, I'll message you again. That's fine. I'll
Perfect.
wait.
Yeah, it's all good. All good. All right, let's go ahead and jump into midterm review. I'm going to go over some other stuff. In my quick email I shot y'all, it said that we have a file that's live already. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So in Canvas, under midterm review, I have one for project info and one for review for the midterm period that we've done. Let's do midterm review first. This is pretty much most of the stuff that we've done since the beginning of the semester that will be included on your midterm exam. What I would suggest is going through this, making sure you feel comfortable with all this. If you've got any questions about it, come back on Monday and we can review it on Monday. Just for walls, pretty straightforward there, how to create a wall, how to edit the wall, how to actually build the wall, how we want it to be built, because in your exam, you'll be given to create a exterior wall, and I'll tell you to create it at, 1/2 inch of interior gyp, 3.5 inches of softwood lumber, and then 1/2 inch of siding on the exterior side. So it'll break it down exactly how you're supposed to build the wall. So you do need to know how to create that. So interior and exterior walls, how to manipulate all the materials, the functions, and the size. Windows and doors, pretty straightforward, and you'll need to know how to insert those. Floors, you will need to create a slab. I'll tell you the dimensions and how to create and edit that, what size flooring that you'd need, and it will be a cast in place concrete floor. Then you'll need to know how to put a finished floor on top of it, create different materials in order to create those different floor looks. Roofs, everything we've covered so far. Define slope, overhang, creating a slope, changing it. If it's a 9/12 slope, it's a 6/12 slope. How to create soffit, fascia, and gutters. How to import ceilings. Components we touched on briefly, but that's still the same thing as picking out different types of doors and windows and things where we use that. Creating materials, sites. When I reviewed your work that you turned in over the weekend, I didn't see a lot of people with their sites in there. Hopefully you've had a chance to do that. And if you have questions about that, you have until Monday to ask those. How to create a property line, topo surface, and split surface. I think people most have problems with that split surface part, just remembering to remove that topo surface from the interior of the house. We talked about temporary dimensions, how we get the sizes that we want by using temporary dimensions. Today, we're going to go over regular dimensions a little bit. This was supposed to be a longer lecture on dimensions, but we can catch up on that the second half of the semester. But we'll talk a little bit about dimensions today. For your midterm, I'm not going to have you do dimensioning because I want to talk about it just for the midterm project, but you're not going to have to do that on the exam. We're going to create sheets. You learned how to paint, how to split elements to create that paint. We talked about visual styles, visibility graphics. We'll talk about that a little bit more today. Hiding elements. We talked about that. How to temporary hide, isolate, hide and view, and reveal hidden elements. We discussed properties in your project browser, how those are used a lot in Revit. Select all instances and override graphics in view to create a poche. So that's most of the stuff that we touched on today, touched on the first half of the semester. As we continue on to the second half of the semester, we're going to be adding to this information and doing some advanced techniques that we haven't done in the first half of the semester, just adding to this information to increase your toolbox and your knowledge. So any questions about this right now, or I suggest taking time over the weekend and coming back Monday, and then we can review just in case you forgot something. But the exam is very thorough, and it will cover all of these topics. Any questions right now, guys? Okay, cool. We still have Monday to review, so if you've got questions, then we'll follow up at that time. All right, so that's for actual midterm stuff that we did. So let's talk about the midterm project and what's going to be due on Monday. So let's open that up. So for a midterm project, let me go ahead and download this. For your title block, I've got this kind of laid out for you, pretty straightforward, what you should include on your title block. I'll let y'all read through that. It's very straightforward. We kind of touched on that last class as well. The sheets that you will need, and we're going to go over a little bit of a sheet lecture here as well, but you'll need a G101 sheet, which is the title sheet. This is the information that will be included on that title sheet, and we'll talk about that today through an example. A101 is obviously your site plan. I didn't give you a chance, but this with your dimensions is correct for your project. You do have time to do that with your project. Your A201 is your architectural plans. Be floor plans with the dimensions. We'll turn off plantings if visible. We didn't do any plantings. I don't think anybody's got that, but we'll talk about that exactly how that works. And the same with the A301 to the 304. And then all drawings should be in hidden lines, also non-architectural components, and also hide non-architectural components where necessary. All right. Let me down. I think it did. All right. So with that information, let's go and jump into our midterm project file. Nope, not that one. Regular files. Yeah, there we go. You're also going to need this sheet number file. This is where you get all those sheet numbers and what they mean next to them. So let me open the file up. So for our G101 title sheet, you can see that's located over here. It's just a title sheet. If you remember at the beginning of the semester, we reviewed that set of plans, that abbreviated set of plans that had all this information in it. You can refer back to that to help you with it, but we're going to create a G101 sheet today with this information on it that you'll need. You also need to create a site plan, which is A101 site plan. Your A201 right here with your architectural floor plan. And your A301 through 304. So each different elevation will be on a separate sheet because we're going to be using a smaller sheet for these. But where you find, this is always a good reference to go back to when we, especially when we do the plans in the second half of the semester, because we'll have a lot more plans that we're going to be included on here, such as schedules. We'll be doing some more elevations here. We'll include some interior elevations and things like that. So this is a good sheet to use and refer back to. But for your midterm project, everything that you need is pretty much laid out on here for you. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into Revit stuff. Let me close all this stuff. So we're going to talk about creating sheets again. We'll do a title sheet today and how to insert an image, and then we'll also go over a couple other ways to create sheets and then use that for our visibility graphics and how we turn things on and off within a sheet and how we make a professional setting look of plans. So let's go ahead and jump back to Revit. Should be open now. I'm just going to throw up a big little building real quick so we can kind of play with that. So I've got this little house right here. One of the things that we didn't really get a chance to talk about, and it's not that big a deal, was, well, it is a big deal, but not going to kill you for the first half of the semester, is site components. I don't like to talk about it that much in the beginning of the semester either, because it kind of muddies people's drawings, but I just want to kind of show you what some of that information is. So this is just adding like, plantings and things. So I'm just going to put one tree in there just for an example of how to hide stuff, what I was talking about before. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create that title sheet. So remember, in order to create a sheet, we're going to go down to our project browser. We're going to go down to Sheets, or right click and create new sheet. If the sheet we want is not already preloaded, we're going to go into our load tab, scroll down to title blocks, and for the midterm project, we're just going to be using an 11 by 17 horizontal. So just click on that one. Once you load it, it's going to be in there every time you open up your sheets. And we'll hit OK, and we have our sheet up. So remember, for this information down here, I've got that spelled out for you over here. Fill it in with this information right here. I'm not going to go over that again. For your title sheet, we're going to include a name of the project as midterm project. We're going to write the due date out, your name, and we're going to put a site picture. This could be the picture that you took of the front of your house, which would be pretty cool to have that on there. And we'll show you how to insert a picture as well. All right, so how are we going to do this title sheet? Well, we're going to go to our annotate tab. In our annotate tab, we're going to go to our text panel in our text tool. So within our text tool, notice that when I make that active, I have this cursor that looks like this. And then the default, if we look over here under properties, is a 1/4 inch aerial. Oops, can't type today. I'll just type that in for now. So you can see once we type that in, we can't change the location of it. Yeah, making a liar out of me. There we go. So we can't change the location of it. You can rotate here. I don't recommend rotating anything on your title block because we want it to be clean. Sometimes you may need to rotate something elsewhere within a set of plans. So you can use rotate here, but I don't recommend that on your title block. So we'll fill in the rest of it. As you can see, the midterm is pretty small. If I wanted this to look bigger, if I wanted to do something different with it rather than just have this the regular one that comes in, I go ahead and go back to my text tab. And notice in my properties, it goes to the default of aerial, and it's 1/4 inch. Well, just like we do everything else, all we have to do is go to our edit type button. We'll duplicate it, and then we can rename it and be just like my text, whatever you want to call it, and then your initials. Say if you wanted to make it 1/2 inch or whatever you wanted it to be. So just rename it so it doesn't, so it's a totally separate new text. Now when we come down here, you can see that you can change all this other stuff that's down here. You can change the text font. So if you want to do a different font, you just do that drop down and find the font that you want. And then you can change that text size if you want. Let's just make it 1 inch and see what happens. So change the font and the size. I'll go back, okay. Now to come in here. And I got my different font here. Obviously, I don't want it to look like this. I want it to look nice like that other title page that we had. I can jump back on that to kind of show you that quick example of that. Where's our plan set? So here's that title block that from the original set of plans that we reviewed. So you can have it centered in the middle. You can have it centered to the left. I kind of tend to like center to the left. This is some additional information that's on here. Just for here, I would use this set of plans as a reference for everything that you kind of lay out. It really helps. But just for your title block, you can use this one as a reference. So what I would do is suggest changing the type of fonts that you want to use. Think about how you want it laid out. I'll leave that up to you and your discretion. Just keep in mind that you want it to make it clean, legible, and just, yeah, nicely organized. So, midterm project date, and put your name on it. Next thing we want to do is include a site picture on here. You can use that picture that you submitted at the beginning of the semester. Like I said, that would be cool to have on the front of here, what the front of your house looks like, but how do we insert an image? So next thing I want to do is go ahead and insert that image. And I'll use that over here. So in order to insert an image, we're going to go to our Insert tab. And we're going to go to the Import panel and the Image tool. And here, when you click that, you'll just have to find the location of that picture that you have. Got so much junk on here. I don't know where I even have any pictures. Let's see if I can find an appropriate picture for y'all. Let's just use like it's the same if I was, no, that's my property tax. Yeah, let me find a picture and then I'll show you how to import it. Resume the recording. All right, to import an image, Insert tab, Import panel, Image tool, and then you just go ahead and find the location of your pictures. Just pick a random picture. So it's going to come in and it's going to look like this big X. And then we drop it in there and it'll look crazy like that. And then with these nodes that are still active, we want to drop that down and shrink that. And you can drop that in there. But with the picture active, you can change the size and the location of it when you have it like that. But when it's not active, I can't move it. So you have to make sure it's active in order to move it. So what I would probably do is put my picture on the right-hand side and I'd put my text on my left-hand side and then fill this bottom part in. But that's up to you how you would want to have that arranged and what image that you want to use on here. So it's very easy, very straightforward. It's just a matter of going to Insert tab, Import panel, and Image tool, and then finding the image that you want to import into your title page. You can do this on any sheet, and we'll use similar ways that we're going to import our renderings, depending on how we do the rendering, but that's just a straightforward way to do it for your title sheet. Any questions about that? Okay, so title sheet will include all this information on the bottom, and then also this information here. So that's for your title sheet. Let's go ahead and jump into how to do a 101 site plan. So when I'm creating my sheets, as I start to create them, they start to populate down here. So they will save themselves. On this one, let me just go ahead and change this to G101, and then we're going to click inside of this. I'll make this a G101. And that changes over here as well. When I change that to title sheet, that will change as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do my site plan with my 11 by 17. Hit OK. That sheet is now active. So in order to import my site plan, I'm going to go back to my project browser. I'm going to click and hold down when I pick on site. Notice how I've got those crosshairs there, and I'll just drag that over and drop that within the sheet itself. Now, for my site plan, I want this to look better. This is not a great view. On all of your sheets, these little guys should not be visible, even when you create a PDF, which we'll do today as well. These guys should not be visible. So there's ways that we would need to turn off a lot of this stuff in here. And to make this sheet actually look better and make this image larger. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this image larger. Remember when this that view panel is active, kind of like a viewport, you've got this boundary line around it. So with that active, I can go ahead and come back over to my properties and change my scale. Notice that default scale when I brought it in is 1 inch equals 20 feet. Well, I can make that bigger just by changing this here. And apply. Oops, went the wrong way. And then while that panel is active, that's when you can move it. It's kind of awkward to move sometimes, so you can also use your directional arrows to move it gradually. Now, since this is my site plan, I should have gone back and drawn the site. So this would actually be too big. I want to go ahead and scale this down another. Then I've got to move this again. This would be a better location. But I don't want, in this site plan, I don't want this tree visible. And remember, I don't want these markers visible as well. So I like to go ahead and jump back to my site plan. And remember how we used visibility graphics before, where we can type in VV. And I'll scroll down to my plantings. I'll turn that off. So it's still there, it's just temporarily turned off. So I move that. And for these guys, I can turn them off or I can move them. A lot of times people end up accidentally deleting them. So sometimes it's just easier to move them out of the way. So I'll just highlight that guy and move him back. Same for this one. And move it back. Now you want to move it straight back in the line that it was, or it's going to mess up your elevations over in your project browser. Like if I moved it over here, that wouldn't work. If I moved it over here, then I wouldn't be able to see this this elevation view. So you just want to move it straight back. Let me go ahead and jump back to my sheet. So as I create and change stuff in my actual view itself, they get changed and manipulated inside this. So if I actually went back and added my site at this time, let's go ahead and do that. You'll see that that site will add onto the sheet when I go back to the sheet. So it's nice, you don't have to, you can add and change things and not have to recreate the sheet every time. So I'll just go ahead and do a quick topo surface. I didn't do my property line that way, I just did a quick topo surface. Let me jump back to my site. So you can see when I added my site after, that's not a great look because now my site is hanging out here in my title block. So that's not cool. That's not what we want. So that's why it's nice to have everything finished first. But when I go back, I don't need to recreate anything else. All I need to do is go ahead and click on that viewport, make it active, and I can shrink this back down to 1 foot equals 10 feet, 1 inch equals 10 feet. And I can realign the location of my drawing. So what did I do there? I moved these elevation markers out of the way. I hid that planting so it doesn't show up in my site plan. And I added my site plan and rearranged the size. So now it's kind of centered and it looks better. So the next thing I want to do is I need to move my drawing tag so it's actually within my drawing over here. So while this viewport is not active, that's when I can move this drawing tag. So I'll move it now to the lower left-hand corner. But it's also too long. depending on the firm you work for, they'll have specific drawing tags, how they want to use it. Yeah, I don't want you to leave the drawing tag this long, so I want you to go back in, make this active again. It's active because I know that this panel is around it, I can see it, and also the nodes are available on the drawing tag. So at this time, I'll go ahead and just shrink that guy down, click outside of it, and now I've got the correct location and size of that drawing tag that I want. So the last thing I'm going to do on here is I'm going to add two dimensions, one across the top and one across the side here. In order to add those dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and jump back to Site. I'm going to go to Annotate tab, Dimension panel, and always use the Align tool. So we're going to click on Align. And I'm going to go from that side of the house to this back end. Oh, this way is that not working? Let's skip that. We'll go back to that. All right. Don't worry about dimensions for your site. I want to do that the second half of the semester. All right. So let's go back to G102. So we'll just leave it like that. The next thing I want to do is print to PDF. And that's how we create sheets. So we're going to go to our File, Print, Print. You want to make sure in your print type, the printer is set to Microsoft Print to PDF. You also have Adobe PDF on here, but I find that the Microsoft works better. So we're going to use Microsoft Print to PDF. You're going to use current window, and we're just going to hit OK. That's going to give you these options right here. So now you just want to save it. This is going to be my A101 site plan, and save. And now I want to go ahead and open that up. So here's my PDF. It looks pretty good, except I still have this little elevation marker showing on here. So before I would turn this in, if I were you, I would go back, redo it, and move this elevation marker further off. That way, when we do another PDF, it's not going to show, because you don't want that to show on your drawing. So if you see something like that, if you see like extraneous elevation markers hanging out, then you want to go ahead and redo that PDF and then resubmit it. But that's pretty much how we create a sheet. We'll go ahead and do another one, because I know that was a lot of information, and then we'll open to any questions. Jump back here. So let's do one full sheet for our floor plan level 1. So I'm going to come back here to my project browser, to my sheets, right click, new sheet, 11 by 17 horizontal, hit OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into my project browser, click and hold my level 1 and drag that over. It's very big. Drop that. So it's coming in so large because of the location I have for these markers. Notice how the back end of the viewport is in relationship with where these elevation markers are. That's why it's so large. So I'm going to go back to my level 1 and kind of play with this a little bit. I'm going to add some internal walls just to kind of help us get an idea of what's going on. I'm gonna move this guy back because I know I need to. I'm just gonna move this one. I could hide them, but for now, we'll just go ahead and move them out of the way. And you definitely, within your floor plans, we do not want any outside plantings available. So once again, visible, we also need to go back to visibility graphics. Remember this, these are turned on and off per view. So in my floor plan view, I need to go back to my plantings and turn those off. And now when I jump back to that sheet, it's starting to look a little bit better. It's not great, but it's not, still need to tweak it a little bit. Let's do A201 here. Notice that when I bring it in, it brings in the date and the time that it was done. Also, it has the scale on here. I do want to scale that up a little bit because it looks a little sparse. So I'll go ahead and make that view active again. Let's go ahead and scale it up one. I use my directional arrows to place that. That looks nice. Now I'm going to shrink down my drawing tag. And I'm going to change the location of it. I'm going to put that down here, bottom left-hand corner, and I'm putting it down a little further just to leave some room for my dimensions once I dimension those out. So I'm going to jump back to level 1. Annotate tab, dimension panel, align tool. And I'm going to start adding my regular dimensions in here. Notice when I put that dimension in place, it's automatically selected the internal location line. So I need to make sure to get these set to the correct locations, which will be external to external, if that's where your measurement came from. For our internal walls, when we do our dimensions, they'll go from here to here. And make sure those are from internal wall to internal wall, interior to interior. If I had some windows and doors available, I can dimension to them as well. Annotate tab, align tool. I'll go from here, I'll select the inside midpoint of that window for my marker there. And I just change the locations of those endpoints of the dimension. So I just want some basic dimensions on this. Well, they should be thorough, but just basic dimensions on here. So we'll do this one to midpoint of the door here, pull that out. And we'll go into dimensioning a little bit more in the second half of the semester. And one of the weird things about your interior dimensions, when you just click on that location line, you click on the second location line. If you click over here, it's not going to work. So you have to kind of like backtrack a little bit to make it work like that. So if it doesn't work the first time, just redo it and it'll work itself. So interior line to interior line, and then backtrack a little bit so it's within here, and click again, and that'll make it a permanent dimension. And then you can still click on these nodes to get them in the right location. would just align these up so they just read nicer. Pull this a little bit closer so it's not so busy. Let's jump back to our sheet. That looks pretty good. I'd fill in the rest of this information down here. And one last thing before I turn this one into a PDF, I'll go back to level 1. Remember, we're going to click on one of the walls, right click. We can do select all instances that are visible in this view. Right click again, go to override graphics in view. We can do by category. Go down to cut patterns. Change that material to solid fill. Change that color to black. Now when we jump back to our sheet, we have something that looks like that. Looks pretty good. Could probably knock this guy over to the left a little bit. So it looks more centered. And then I would just do my print to PDF at this time. So it looks pretty good. So remember, go back to File, Print, Microsoft Print to PDF, current window, hit OK. It's a 201 floor plan. Oops. Cannot type today. Oh, well. That's going to save. Let's go ahead and open that up. And there we have our floor plan, which looks pretty good. So for the midterm, what you're going to need is these sheets completed. G101, A101, A201, and then your elevations, 4 different elevations of the house. You're going to have those submitted as a print to PDF, and then also submit your entire Revit file. I'll have that mod live by the end of the day. That way, if you want to turn it in early and have me look at it, you know, you can turn it in, say, check my progress. You don't need to turn in your progress this week. Your progress is going to be like the midterm project when it's due. But if you do want me to take a look at it, I'll be happy to do that. But you just have to reach out to me. Best way to do that is with a text, and I can take a look at it. Because usually that's what I do when we're actually in a class, is I'll review that with you just to see if I can catch anything. You know, you can take advantage of that still just by texting me. And I'll have that mod live just for everything that's going to be due on Monday. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we covered today. What I'd suggest is go ahead and jump in and start creating your sheets if you haven't done that already, and start laying it out. They're pretty straightforward once you get practice to them. Just real simple. I know a lot of you have a lot more complicated houses than this. So just go ahead and do your best with the dimensioning. No, we didn't get a chance to go into that as much as I'd like, but we can definitely do that on the second half of the semester. We'll go into that a little bit more. Any questions, y'all?
This is kind of just like a side comment question, but you
Sure.
mentioned for like the elevation views, something about like if you, like some people accidentally delete them instead of moving them out of the way.
Yeah.
What would you do if you accidentally did that? Because that sounds like something I would probably do.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Let's go back to level 1. And say what you accidentally deleted this guy over here. So let's just do that. So that one's there, and I hit delete. It should give you a warning like this, but you know, things happen and people just click through. So when that happens, if you notice over here under my elevations, my west elevation is gone. Poof. So I need to put that back. So I'm going to go back to my view tab in my create panel, And notice I have an elevation tool right here. So if we do the drop down, it's got the framing elevations or regular elevation. We're just going to default to the regular elevation here. So you're going to click on that. And then when you come back into the view, it's going to automatically kind of align itself. So you just got to make sure it's facing in the right direction. So if I put it over here, it's not going to be facing the building. So I want to make sure that it's right here. So I'll click that into place. And when I do that in my project browser, notice it's going to come in as elevation 1A. So I can change that. I can rename that back to my west elevation view. Have that in place now. I can move this back a little bit further so I can see that. And then if I jump back into this west view here, I've got something that looks like this. Still can't see anything, so something's up weird with that. So we need to align that view as well. Where was I when I did that? So notice my viewport is actually right here. So it's not actually showing me anything. It's not showing me where this house is. So when this is active and this pops up, I need to pull this all the way through the house. And now when I jump back to my west view, now it's visible. So you have to align a few other things if you accidentally delete that, but you can get that back just by going back to your view tab and adding your elevation, a new elevation marker.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Another side comment, last week, whenever I said I was having issues with the 3D cube, like jumping all over the place, whenever I was doing my site plan, I realized, I think what the issue was that the little marker that sets like where it revolves around was set like way off to the side. So every time I was trying to like rotate, it was trying to rotate around something that wasn't the house, basically. Yeah, that little
weird
triangle thing, it was misplaced.
Weird. Yeah, I forgot to look up some other stuff for you. I'm sorry. We'll do that when at the beginning of second half of the semester. So do remind me of that. And also got a request to talk about just what to do with this degree in general from someone, and we'll talk about that at the beginning of after the midterm. So we'll go over a few things, and any other questions that you have, we can go over that at the beginning of the second half of the semester. Any other questions, y'all?
I cannot for the life of me figure out how to select the split topography underneath my house and delete it. I just can't, I can't grab it.
Yeah, it frustrates a lot of people. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, it's best if we always turn the color on, because we'll do that to make it a little bit easier for y'all. And let me go ahead and add a slab just to make it complicated. Boop, boop, boop. Let's jump back to 3D. All right, so I got my little slab, I got my ground. If I hide the roof, my the interior looks like this. I've got mud in the middle of my house, so I need to get rid of that. So what do we do? I find the easiest thing is just to turn it upside down, or from the bottom part. And here we're going to go to massing and site tab, modify site panel, and the tool we're going to use is split surface. So we're going to click on split surface and select the surface that we want to split, which is that large piece of site. Once we have that selected, we're going to go ahead and draw around the perimeter of that slab. So I made an easy shape, so I can just use this rectangle tool. So now I have that shape created. Now I'm going to hit my green check mark. So, you're going to click on here and be like, okay, well, I don't see any difference. Even if I move this, I don't see any difference at all. So what we want to do at this time is I'm going to go ahead and hide that slab. So I'm going to click on the slab, temporary hide. And now the whole site is visible. I can click on the exterior and I noticed that my split surface worked because my interior is still brown. And I click on just the part that's inside the house, that brown part inside the house. Just that is active now. And when that part is active, that's the part that I want to delete. And I just hit my delete button and it's gone. And now I can go ahead and unhide everything. Let's hide the roof again. And now my interior is sans mud. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It takes a little practice. It takes just, you know, sometimes just a little finesse as far as trying to get the piece to delete, but we always want to make sure that that's gone. Sometimes, so I find the easiest thing to do is just turn it over, and we'll do that again. It's a split surface first. Click on the surface that you want to split. Draw the shape of that foundation of your slab. Click on that green check mark. Hide that slab and then delete that piece of site that's inside the house. Any other questions, y'all? All right, if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and end class. And if you've got questions that come up between now and Monday, and if you need any help with anything, text me, and I'll try and get on as soon as possible and help you out that way. It's one nice thing about virtual, you know, and currently working from home, even without COVID, I can kind of help y'all, hopefully, you know, quicker than, you know, emailing me and saying, get back to me. So there's not a problem if y'all shoot me a text. All right, a couple of y'all I do need to talk to separate just to make sure that your stuff is, that I can read your project stuff, and I'll reach out to y'all today about that. Besides that, I think we're good to go. And yeah, if any issues before Monday, let me know. Projects due Monday, midterm is a week from today. So have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.